The Earth is heading towards an extremely dangerous situation with each passing year, one that desperately needs attention but is often ignored by both individuals and governments. This danger is so critically severe that if no precautions or solutions are found, not just humans, but animals, trees, and even man-made structures will be under serious threat. And this danger revolves around something most people use carelessly: water. Now close your eyes and imagine. You wake up in the morning and go to the sink to wash your face. There's no water. You can't brush your teeth, you can't brew tea, you can't take a shower. Sound dystopian? Actually, this scenario is not that far off. Look, our planet is about 70% covered with water, true, but only 2.5% of that is fresh water. And most of this fresh water is locked in glaciers or underground. So the water we humans can actually use is just the tip of the iceberg. So what's going on? Why are we facing water scarcity despite being surrounded by water? Let me explain. We recklessly waste water in agriculture. Same goes for industry. Did you know that it takes about 10 tons of water to produce a single pair of jeans? Yes, just one pair. Leaks in urban systems? Brushing teeth with the tap running, washing cars daily. Little by little, our water is running out, and fast. But wait, we're just getting started. There's also the climate crisis, which makes everything worse. Droughts are increasing, lakes are drying up, underground water levels are dropping. And it's not just us humans who are affected. Animals, forests, even the soil itself are suffering from thirst. So in this documentary, we'll take a deep breath and explore the crisis together. We'll talk about why water is disappearing, how it affects us and other living beings, and most importantly, what we can do about it. If you're ready, let's begin. Now let's focus on the main question. With so much water on Earth, why are we talking about water scarcity on a global scale? Is water really decreasing, or is this just an exaggerated concern? Unfortunately, this is not an exaggeration. In fact, we're facing one of the most serious environmental issues of this century. Let's take a look, both simply and scientifically, at what's really going on. First of all, the total amount of water on Earth is actually constant. Water doesn't disappear from the planet. But the real issue is where that water is and in what form. In other words, whether it's accessible and usable. The first major problem: climate change. As the atmosphere heats up, evaporation increases, rainfall patterns shift, and droughts last longer. As seasonal balances are disrupted, the natural water cycle is thrown off as well. This leads to a decline in freshwater resources. The second major reason: excessive and unplanned water usage. Globally, agriculture consumes about 70% of all fresh water, but much of this usage is highly inefficient. Open irrigation systems, evaporation, poor infrastructure, and bad timing waste millions of liters of water unnecessarily. In the industrial sector, every production process depends heavily on water. For example, manufacturing a single car requires about 40 liters of water, and most of the water used in these processes ends up polluted and is often released back into nature without proper treatment. This not only worsens water scarcity, but also leads to serious water pollution problems. In daily life, water waste is just as common. Leaving the tap running while brushing teeth, frequent car washes, long showers. These might seem minor on an individual level, but when billions of people repeat the same habits, the overall waste becomes massive. And let's not forget, this crisis isn't caused only by human behavior. Natural processes play a role too. Groundwater sources have been over-extracted for decades. The problem is, groundwater takes a very long time to replenish. In some regions, water tables are dropping by as much as a meter per year, making it increasingly harder to access drinkable water in the future. So what's the bottom line? The Earth still has water, yes, But accessible, clean, and safe water resources are rapidly disappearing. And this isn't just a prediction about the future, it's a harsh reality already affecting many countries today. But don't lose hope. We've now explored the causes of the water crisis. Up next, we're diving into its consequences, how it affects people, animals, and entire ecosystems. So let's say water scarcity continues to worsen. What does that mean? To put it simply, life stops. Yes, life as we know it depends on water. Without it, nothing can function. First, there's health. Without clean water, hygiene becomes impossible. We can't wash our hands, clean our food, wash our dishes or clothes. This leads to a rise in diseases. According to the World Health Organization, millions of people die each year due to waterborne illnesses caused by contaminated water. Second, food security. Agriculture simply can't exist without water. Dry fields, low-yielding soils, higher production costs. These all lead to food shortages, price spikes, and growing hunger risks in society. Third, the economy. Water is the lifeline of industrial production. If water-dependent industries stop, factories shut down, and people lose their jobs. Many parts of the global economy could be paralyzed by water scarcity. There's also migration and conflict. When water resources dry up, especially in arid regions, people are forced to migrate. These migrations cause social and economic pressures in both the areas people leave and the places they arrive. And when water isn't shared fairly, conflict becomes almost inevitable. And don't think this is just a problem for rural areas or underdeveloped countries. Major cities are feeling the pressure too. Dam levels are falling, water cuts are increasing, and treatment systems can't keep up. So yes, water scarcity is like a domino effect. Once the first piece falls, the problems start cascading through every part of life. But is this crisis only about humans? Absolutely not. In the next section, we'll explore how water scarcity affects nature and animals. If you're ready, let's continue. First off, let's talk about wildlife. Because of drought, natural habitats are shrinking. Lakes are drying up. Rivers are receding. Animals that come to these water sources to drink, cool off, or hunt can no longer find what they need. This leads either to their death or forces them to migrate elsewhere. But here's the thing. When animals migrate, they either can't find enough food in their new environment or they clash with other species already living there. And then there's the ecosystem chain. When a water source dries up, say a swamp, frogs, birds, insects, fish, everything in that micro-ecosystem is affected. And the animals that rely on them for food? They suffer too. Nothing in nature exists in isolation. The lack of water sets off a domino effect. What about forests and plants? Without water, trees can't photosynthesize, can't grow, they lose their leaves. Dry forests don't just mean less oxygen, they also become a massive fire risk. Even in places like the Amazon, which were once thought immune, signs of drying are starting to show. This directly impacts the planet's carbon balance. Let's not forget our seas and lakes either. As water levels drop, rising temperatures decrease oxygen in the water. This makes survival much harder for fish and other aquatic life. Over 80% of species living in freshwater ecosystems are already threatened. So no, the water crisis isn't just a human problem. It's a massive chain reaction crisis that touches every corner of the planet. But here's the hope. We still have a chance to create solutions. In the next part, let's explore what can actually be done to fight this crisis and how we can protect both nature and humanity. We now know the water crisis isn't just knocking on our door. In many places, it's already barged in. So the real question is, what can we do now? Let's start with individual solutions. How we use water in our daily lives matters more than you think. Leaving the tap running, taking long showers for no reason, ignoring leaking pipes. All of these seem small, but if millions of people act the same way, the damage adds up. Installing water-saving faucets, dual flush toilets, or rainwater harvesting systems can seriously reduce our usage. But let's be honest, individual efforts alone won't cut it. One of the biggest drivers of this crisis is agriculture. About 70% of all fresh water used globally goes into farming. Outdated irrigation methods, insisting on crops that aren't drought-resistant, using inefficient farmland, all of this wastes tons of water. We need to move toward more efficient systems like drip irrigation and focus on growing crops that fit local conditions. We don't need to be growing rice in deserts. The industrial sector is also a major player. Especially industries like textiles, energy, and mining consume vast amounts of water. Setting up water recycling systems, switching to less water-intensive production. These are no longer options, they're necessities. And then there's what needs to be done at the policy level. We need strict regulations, international cooperation, and global water policies. Without that, local efforts won't go far. Water, like air, is a shared right of all living beings, and it needs to be protected as such. Education is key too. Water awareness should start early. Kids need to learn in school that water isn't infinite, because they're the ones who will inherit this planet. Remember, we are the solution. The water crisis is not destiny. It's a disaster we can prevent if we act smart. Every step we take today gives life to tomorrow. If we act now, we can save ourselves and this planet. The purpose of this documentary isn't just to give you information, it's to spark awareness. If what you heard lit even a small spark in you, then maybe you are a part of the change. Because even if this crisis doesn't end our generation, it could very well be the end for our children or their children. Just like countries and corporations fight over money today, one day that battle will be over water. So here's what we ask of you. Next time you use water, remember this danger. Be mindful and spread the word to those around you. If everyone who watches this video influences just 2 other people, that might just be enough to prevent a global disaster. For now, that's it from us. Before you go, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And hey, we want your ideas too. If you've got a cool topic in mind, drop it in the comments. See you next time. Stay safe, stay aware,